We have to obey the Constitution, and still, under the Constitution, has never been repealed, is that only gold and silver can be legal tender, not paper money. There is a precise reason that those rules were changed 100 years ago, 1913, and since that time we've eliminated 96% of the value of the dollar. It is the tool for big government. It is the tool and the ability for government to grow. Not only did we have the income tax come in 1913, but we had the Federal Reserve come in. So that means it turns over to the government this opportunity to spend money and not be responsible. They can just either collect it by force through taxes, or then they can go to the Federal Reserve. The best approach to that, of course, is not only legalizing gold and silver, but eventually what we need to do is we need to repeal the whole Federal Reserve and get rid of the Federal Reserve. Required to pay for the government they get on a weekly basis, believe me, there would have been a good rebellion a long time ago. So that's one of the reasons, with tongue-in-cheek, I offered the amendment that would repeal wage withholding. Have everybody pay by check at the end of the week or the end of the month. Believe me, this would have ended a long time ago. But instead, what they do is they tax us to the maximum, then they borrow to the maximum, and then they print to the maximum. But the debt is coming due, and that's what's happening. That's why the standard of living is going down. Real wages are down. Middle-class people are hurting right now, more so than they want to admit in Washington. They want to say, well, there's no inflation because we don't count energy and food. Well, we'll exclude, though, and the inflation rate's not so high. But the free market calculation of inflation on prices is closer to 10%, not to 2%. But that's why people are upset and annoyed, and of course I think it's one of the reasons why young people are flocking to the campaign, because at least they had been taught real good arithmetic and they can add it all up. And they're getting the verdict. But just think of the that we've had since we've had the tax system and the Federal Reserve System. They immediately inflated and taxed to fight the First World War. They inflated in the 20s to have a stock market boom, and then they messed it up and gave us the Depression. They inflated for the next war, and it's up and down and over and around and all the problems that we have. But today conditions are much worse, because even in 1979, when the dollar was threatened, there was a stronger economy here and a stronger manufacturing. Today, our manufacturing base is gone, and now we're paying the bills, because as the housing market shrinks, all that money borrowed against equities, which are shrinking, it's similar in many ways. It might be much bigger than what happened to the NASDAQ bubble. And this time around, the only tool that they have is creating new money out of thin air. And there will be a limit. There's going to be a challenge. In this very day, the dollar is at historic lows and will probably continue down. The dollar means interest rates will go up, the cost of living is going to go up, and our standard of living will go down. That's what we have to contend with. And we cannot contend with it by looking at the tax code and tinkering, or looking at monetary policy and deciding whether you should raise the rates or lower the rate. The only solution here is sound money and a free market economy. It's the only thing that can happen. But since 1913, this has been one of the vehicles to finance war. And currently, we are once again doing exactly what we did in the 60s. In the 60s, it was claimed there's no sweat. American people are prosperous and wealthy. We can have guns. We can have all the prosperity. We can have all the welfare. The government can take care of everybody. And we can have all the guns and the shooting and the killing and lose 60,000 men. It's no big deal, they claim. And yet, the price had to be paid. Matter of fact, the price in the 1970s, and it was a period of time which motivated me to run for politics. It was after the decline and the disintegration of the Bretton Woods Agreement, the breakdown, the last vestige of the gold standard, which prompted me to run for Congress. The 70s were rough. The standard of living went down, inflation skyrocketed, interest rates went to 21%, and the dollar nearly totally collapsed in 79 and 80. Things are worse right now, and we have to understand it, and we have to know what to do. cannot continue to finance this foreign militarism around the world any longer. We spend overseas, not just the DOD budget, which is separate from the war budget. When you add it all up, it's nearly $1 trillion that we're spending overseas. Let me tell you, we could slash that greatly. 50%, 70%, who knows what. We could really slash that budget, and it wouldn't hurt our defense posture one bit. Matter of fact, we would be a stronger nation. We would have less threats. We would have a stronger military. Everybody knows that I was very much on the record many years before the Iraq Liberation Act was passed in 1998. I spoke out strongly then, and year after year after that, warning about the war that was coming. And now they say to me, when the media ask me a question, they say, yeah, we know you're against it, we know you're there, but what are you going to do about it now? Well, a few weeks ago I gave a talk, and the title of the talk was very simple. We just marched in, we can just march out. I said, what about the moral obligation for the mess we created? Don't we have to stay there and take care of it? I said, yes, we have a moral obligation to the American taxpayer and to the American soldier. Bring them home, stop the killing, and stop the bleeding. People are saying and demanding, and they're not getting it. We had a change in the Congress last year, and there are no changes up there. The process has continued. There was an opportunity to insist that the president can't spread this war into Iran without the permission of the Congress, and it was struck from the bill by the leadership on the other side of the aisle. Today, even on this very day, there's even stronger hints that the preparations are currently being made that Iran will soon be bombed by the United States. This has been the most destructive change in foreign policy probably in our history, and we've had some downturns over the years. But right now, we are engaged, since we've marched into Iraq, we're engaged in preemptive war. That means we start the war. We declare war. We go in on a country not capable of defending themselves, a bad country, but one that can't defend itself, that had not made an attack on us, and they put this in holy terms, like we are doing God's work by going over there. It's foolhardy, and we have our way. The founders gave us the answer. Mind our own business and take care of our business here at home. One reason that I'm optimistic, and so many others have gathered that optimism and share it, is that we have been a great country. We have great traditions. We have a great Constitution. Not a perfect Constitution. There could be and should be some changes. But the important thing about the Constitution, we shouldn't ignore it. We should change it only the way we're instructed to change it. But our traditions are good. We've had an understanding of contract and property rights and individual liberty and religious liberty. We have forgotten that. We have lost our way. We have so little respect for our Constitution. And it's not this administration or this Congress. It's been many decades.